in high school in Pittsburgh.
I heard he was a man-child in high school.
That's what I was going to say. It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Good player. 1 minute.
Yep. ¿Cómo están todos? Sean bienvenidos. Una nueva noche, una nueva edición de Monday Night Football Talk. Un fuerte abrazo a toda América Latina que cada semana nos acompaña por un programa que espero, como los anteriores, lo disfruten esta noche. Soy Ricardo García Ochoa, acompañado y a quien saludo con mucho gusto a mi compañero, ya saben, lo conocen muy bien, ex estrella de la NFL, un hombre que ganó 2 campeonatos de conferencia, jugó 2 Super Bowls en la liga, una carrera exitosa, Mr. Randy Fuller. Randy, how are you, my brother? Nice to see you again. And tonight, let me tell you this. Déjenme decirles esto. Cuando un amigo, a un hermano le va bien, todos nos alegramos. I have to tell you this, Randy. When a friend, a brother does well, we have to rejoice, and that's just the case tonight with our guest. So how are you doing, Randy?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. Forgive me tonight. I forgot to bring my mask, but I just want to send out the reminder. Please wear your mask. But I'm excited to rejoice and be a part of tonight's show. All is well in Houston. The family's doing well. And let's kick this show off, man.
Dice Randy que se le olvidó la máscara, pero el mensaje ya está claro. Usen máscara, usen cubreboca, mantengan la distancia, por favor. De esa manera lograremos tener una temporada de NFL 2020, especialmente en los Estados Unidos, y todos en América Latina debemos de seguir esas indicaciones para ya superar esta pandemia. Así que Randy está listo para darle el kickoff entonces a este programa. Hoy contamos con la presencia de un hombre que fue jugador con la Universidad de Rutgers como fullback, estuvo en la Universidad de UMass con los Minutemen allá en Massachusetts, y ahora, después de una carrera como coach en el fútbol americano universitario en los Estados Unidos, ha recibido el llamado de un coach novato para esta temporada, el coach Matt Rhule, que ustedes recuerdan con la Universidad de Baylor. Bueno, él ahora está al frente de los Panthers de Carolina en una nueva era. Con nosotros esta noche, EJ Barthel, un gran amigo, un hombre que conoce Panamá, a man who knows Panama very well, who sure wants to take a trip to all the countries in Latin America, and he's with us tonight. So EJ, let me just say, my brother, it's so nice to see you again. Me da mucho gusto volverte a ver después de algunos años, after a few years. But I see you're looking very good and ready for the upcoming NFL season. First of all, congratulations, EJ, on making it to the NFL as a coach. And tell us, how are you doing?
Oh, man, fantastic. And thanks for it's great to see you, man. I tell you, man, it's very few you cross paths with people and have a connection and have passion and that are aligned, and to reconnect with you is fantastic. You know, I think through the love of the game, you know, that's what brought us together, and I think that it's fantastic to see you again, and thank you for the congratulations. I'm really excited, man. It's just a new step, a new journey for my career, and continue to work with Coach Rhule and help build this program.
Dice EJ que bueno, él definitivamente está muy contento, que en la vida te cruzas caminos con personas, pero rara vez te conectas como lo hemos hecho nosotros a través del amor que tenemos por el fútbol americano, y que está contento de trabajar con el Coach Rhule en este nuevo proyecto dentro de los Panthers de Carolina. Go ahead, Randy. So good to have EJ tonight with us. So make your first question.
Absolutely. EJ, congratulations again on the new appointment. Like we do every show, we want the people to get to know who you are, EJ. So that's the first thing we start with. So just tell us, where you're from and how did you start your football career off?
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it, man. And coming from a fellow athlete and a guy that has a pretty impressive resume himself, it's kind of hard to follow your footsteps. But I did play football in New Jersey, and recruited by Greg Schiano at Rutgers, and I fought injuries a lot and had a tryout with the Giants and played in the UFL League and battled injuries, but I've always known I wanted to coach, especially since the college coaches around me were really impressive. So from a young age, I started recruiting and evaluating guys and really trying to understand the process of players and systematic approach to personnel and really learning the game of football. It's been about 8 year journey I've been on recently. Just really excited for the next step. And here I am in Carolina. So really excited, man.
Dice, le pregunta Randy a EJ de, bueno, que nos cuente su historia dentro del fútbol americano. Dice que el jugador de la Universidad de Rutgers allá en el este, en la zona de Nueva Jersey, bajo el coach Greg Schiano, que lo recordamos muy bien también allá en Monterrey por la razón que tuvo Rutgers por los juegos del TEC. Y que bueno, desde muy joven, después de terminar su carrera colegial, las lesiones lamentablemente no le permitieron continuar como profesional. Se probó con los Giants de Nueva York, estuvo en una liga profesional, la UFL, dentro del equipo de Las Vegas. You played in Las Vegas, EJ, with that team, and you won a championship actually with them as a pro player.
That's right, under Jim Fossil, that's right.
Estuvo con el equipo de Las Vegas, ganó un título dentro de esa liga bajo el mando del coach Jim Fossil, pero desde muy joven le interesaba aprender de sus coaches y meterse en la parte del Tell us about that first opportunity, EJ, as a recruiter, as a scout, and then as a director of recruiting for the University of Temple over there in Philadelphia. Háblanos de esa primera etapa de tu vida como director de reclutamiento en Temple.
When I got at Rutgers and got promoted to director of recruiting, I was really young in the industry and really young in the business. I was coaching high school football at some pretty good high schools in New Jersey, and so really was learning on the job. Really learning as far as how to really truly evaluate and how to communicate, because a lot of people think recruiting is just mostly basically oh, he's a good player, so go get him. But and Randy, you can attest, you've been in college as a coach. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen efficiently, and there has to be levels of filters that people have to go through to kind of understand what we need as a program, what we're looking for in individuals, not just from a talent perspective, but from a character perspective, demographics. Obviously, there's a political aspect of it too, because recruiting is what people really want to know about in college football. They want to compete against each other, and who's bringing in the best classes. So there's a lot of elements that people don't really realize. So there's a lot of learning from me on the job, and I was excited to get that. I was lucky to get that experience, and it just so happened that Temple and Rutgers happened to be in the same neighborhood and recruiting in the same grounds, and that's initially how becoming familiar with Coach Rule, recruiting in the same area.
Le pregunto a ella, ustedes escucharon sobre cómo empezó su carrera dentro del reclutamiento. Él habla sobre ese tema cuando se le da la primera oportunidad en Rutgers, allá en Nueva Jersey, de reclutar, y que tiene que ver mucho con la parte demográfica, que a veces es muy fácil creer que porque un chico tiene el talento ya inmediatamente puede ser llamado al programa, pero no es tan sencillo. Obviamente Temple y Rutgers están en la misma zona en el este de los Estados Unidos. Filadelfia y Nueva Jersey son vecinos, y que bueno, eso le dio la oportunidad de trabajar con el coach Matt Rule en Temple en el año 2016, pero que fue una gran experiencia para él. Go ahead, Randy.
Man, listen, this football thing is always family oriented. So whether you played in the league or college or high school, there's always a connectivity that we all have together. You mentioned Jim Fossil. He's the tight ends coach at Denver when I was a rookie. So
wow, how about that?
Fossil, yeah.
Oh, you showing your age here now.
Oh, I know. I'm not. I love getting older. Ricardo is ahead of me, but I love getting older.
That's fantastic.
But so, man, you have been part of some incredible programs and incredible coaching staff. So I guess my question that I would love for everybody to know is, man, who did you draw your inspiration from? Who has put the most into you where you're kind of pattern your coaching style after them? Who is that person?
It's funny you say that. I think every coach you work for, you work under, I think you take a little bit of something from them as you go forward. And it's kind of like that old, like when you're a player, and you're trying to get, and a coach is coaching you, you think, as an arrogant player, you're like, oh, I know better. Right. Then you figure out a couple of years later, like, you know what, he was right. You know what I mean? So you get to learn a lot of the things that other guys have learned over the years. And I've been really fortunate to work under play under some really good coaches and work under some really good coaches. But as far as who has been inspirational, it's been a few guys. I mean, Kyle Flood, and who got me started in my career, who's the O-line coach at Alabama. Very, very intelligent, just a great man, and worked under Matt at Temple, and James Franklin at Penn State, and played for Coach Chiano, played for Jim Fossil. And there's some names that I've learned a little bit about all of them. Yeah. But as far as the guy that's really kind of pushed me to the limit and really kind of challenged me to kind of grow is Coach Rule. He's been very influential throughout this process, and he has not made it easy. I'll tell you that right now. he'll let me have it, but he demands, he holds his staff and his players to a certain standard, and obviously it's led him to success and where he's been, and so very fortunate to work under him and continue to keep learning and keep growing.
Le pregunta Randy a EJ que quiénes han sido sus inspiraciones dentro del fútbol americano como coaches. EJ menciona varios nombres, ¿no? El coach Kyle Flood, de la Universidad de Alabama, coach de línea ofensiva, un hombre muy inteligente, una gran persona. Coach Fossil, quien fue su coach también como profesional allá en Las Vegas. Menciona el coach James Franklin de la Universidad de Penn State, pero habla definitivamente de Matt Rhule y lo importante que ha sido la influencia de Matt Rhule. Un hombre comprometido, un hombre demandante, y que, bueno, afortunadamente, precisamente establecer ese estándar de calidad de sus coaches y jugadores le han brindado al éxito a Matt Rhule, que ha alcanzado en su carrera como coach en Baylor y ahora llegando a la NFL con los Panthers de Carolina. EJ, you have to tell us that part of the story. I mean, you worked with Matt Rhule in Temple, but how did the call came from Matt Rhule to you to join his staff in Carolina, and what was the sensation for you once you got that call, that invitation from Matt Rhule to become an NFL coach after the years that you passed coaching in college football? ¿Cómo fue esa invitación de Matt Rhule para dejar el fútbol americano colegial y pasar entonces a la NFL con su staff? ¿Cuál fue tu primera sensación cuando recibiste esa llamada?
Well, that's a great question. At the time, I was working on another great coach, Mike London, at William & Mary, who's one of the best men I've ever met in my life, and he's a really good leader. And Mike gave me a lot of responsibility, so leaving his program was a tough decision. But like you said, when Matt did give me the phone call, and I was able to interview and talk about the continued growth and development and continued plan for success, it was a no-brainer for me at that moment. You know what I mean? And just kind of surreal. I gave my family text, and they've known this has been quite a few journey, and we've had discussions in Panama about the vision and the dreams, and so it's all coming together, and I have a lot of work to do ahead of me, but fortunate to work under some really good coaches, and offensive coordinator Joe Brady, who just won a championship at LSU, who's one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. Offensive line coach Pat Meyer, who was at San Diego last year, and Brian Angelico, and Jeff Nixon, who was the OC at Baylor. So I'm surrounded by Jake Peets, our quarterback's coach, surrounded by some really good guys. And so the level of I don't want to say competition, because that's not the right word, but more so like the standard amongst each other and how hard we push each other, and urgency to learn and get better is something that you can't replace in life. It's just an opportunity that's I'm very grateful for, and I'm sure going to continue to use this as a tool to help the players that I'm coaching get better. And it's just a cycle. It's great. It really is a great opportunity. So Carolina's lucky that
there you go.
We got a good group. We got a good crew going. So we're excited. It's what a great community it's been too.
Yes.
I mean, obviously we've had the situation we're in right now, but football, in my opinion, cures all, and great group of guys that just really come together and really put something together special for the community and the state.
Dice EJ que esa llamada definitivamente, pues obviamente fue de gran sensación, que era, su familia lo sabe, algo que él buscaba desde hace algunos años, que no fue fácil dejar el programa de William and Mary con el coach Mike London, porque allá estaba haciendo un gran trabajo, le había dado muchas responsabilidades, pero la llamada de Matt Poole llegó y se integra a un staff de cocheo con un gran compromiso, y con un hombre como el coach Brady, que ganó campeonato nacional con LSU como coordinador ofensivo. Ustedes lo recordarán, el hombre que le enseñó a Joe Burrow, la primera selección global del draft 2020 de la NFL, a ser el quarterback que fue con LSU y que ahora se integra como coordinador ofensivo con los Panthers de Carolina. Así que para EJ definitivamente es un momento muy importante y que está muy contento de poder llegar a la NFL, pero que claro, representa esto un gran paso en su carrera por el compromiso también de los coaches que integran ese staff ofensivo, que llega a una gran ciudad con una gran comunidad como la Queen City en Charlotte, the Queen City, a integrarse a ese staff de los Panthers que quieren darles cosas muy buenas al equipo y a la afición esta temporada. I'm just warming up, Randy, come on.
That's it.
Man, hey, man, listen, I got plenty in my bag. Hey, EJ,
Yes.
you are offensive dominant. I mean, you have had some of the best offensive minds to play the game. I mean, to coach the game. So I guess if you could tell our listeners, as an offensive player or a coach, how important it is to find a good defensive mentor that you could talk to talk about schemes, and who is that person for you if you do have one?
Well, it's really everyone, to be honest with you. It's really all the guys that you work with. It's kind of a network of coaches that you built relationships with to go back and discuss, and guys that love football love to talk football, right? So it's always great to, when you have a question or can't figure something out or want to look at something from a different perspective, it's great to have those relationships of guys you've either played with or coached with. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because Coach Rule has coached pretty much every position on the field, you know, and he's a big believer in what you just said. Like, you know, like he'll get in my ear, now you need to learn everything. You need to know everything. And I think we kind of take that approach as a staff and for our players. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that we understand the game of football. That's the key, not just knowing your position. But I have quite a few guys. Coach London at William & Mary is a defensive mind. He's been defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. So especially with the running backs, it works well when asking questions and figuring out different stunts and things of that nature. So, but there's a plethora of guys I've worked with across the country that I've been fortunate enough to use as a network.
Right. Okay.
Le pregunta Randy a AJ sobre esa parte defensiva, que él, a pesar de ser un coach ofensivo, en quién se fija o de quién busca aprender para la parte defensiva. Dice el coach Matt Rule, definitivamente que ha coachado todas las posiciones que hay en el campo, y es uno de los hombres que exige que te prepares y conozcas las diferentes áreas. Así que para AJ es pues curioso que mencione Randy esto, porque sí le ha interesado y ahí tiene la exigencia del coach Rule de aprender de todos los sectores que existen en el campo de fútbol americano, para lo cual tiene que prepararse y así le exige. EJ, we've talked about coaching and we've talked about the staff, man, and I'm sure this is something, and you will agree with us and with every fan, this is something very different. I mean, we haven't had the opportunity to go through something like this. And in your case, I'm sure not as a player and not as a coach, but how are you, the staff in Carolina with Coach Rule, handling this pandemic and the fact that for a couple of months, being a rookie staff, you didn't have the chance to meet and have meeting inside the Panthers installations, and now that you have to work, everyone staying at home and keeping that safe distance, how different has this all been for you guys? ¿Qué tan diferente ha sido todo esto como staff de coacheo para ustedes siendo novatos en la NFL?
Before I answer that, I want to just mention that we do have Phil Snow on our staff, who's
Coach
one of the best defensive minds in the game. So, and I don't know if I know another coach that loves football as much as him. So, asking him a question,
right?
you may be stuck there for about an hour, but you're gonna learn something. So to answer that question, but about the new wave of what's going on right now as far as learning and teaching. I'm a big believer that there's a positive in everything, and there's always something to learn. And I would have never I'm just being honest, I would have never dived into the technology as much as I've done the last 6 months.
Right.
And I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of guys across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as far as how efficient you can teach from your laptop or from distance and save time and be more, on top of things and be more hands-on and direct. There's a lot of positivity to the way we're teaching. Obviously, there's nothing beats face-to-face contact, but I believe that this pandemic has caused us to use technology, but I think we're going to use this moving forward when things come back to normal, because there's a lot of great techniques or great there's a great technology that will help us learn and be more competitive, and it's fantastic. I'm being honest, to be able to, I mean, the players, you can not our current players, but like if you're a player, there's opportunity to learn like at all times. You know what I mean? And if you love football and you want to get coached up, it's simple. Hey, coach, can you get on a phone call with me? And it's instant versus like driving to go and spend an extra hour to meet somewhere. And, so there's a lot of benefit to the technology. And so I know it's been a tough situation for our world right now, but from a football standpoint, this has been a gift that I think a lot of coaches have come to appreciate. I know myself, I have, for sure.
Dice EJ que él es un hombre muy positivo, que le gusta ver dentro de cualquier cosa mala algo positivo, y este es el caso. Precisamente con la pandemia y las herramientas tecnológicas que se tienen ahora, han podido sacarle provecho a esta situación que se está viviendo en el mundo actualmente, y que nunca se había clavado tanto en el tema tecnológico como lo está haciendo ahora, pero que esto tiene sus beneficios también. En lugar de verse con un jugador, manejar una hora de distancia para llegar a reunirse, en estos momentos pueden aprovechar ese tiempo y hacerlo a través de una sesión como lo estamos haciendo esta noche. Gentlemen, just take a quick time out and say hello to a lot of people that are writing and watching the show tonight. Luis Cavazos, Dr. Luis Cavazos from Monterey, he's watching the show. Rod Cosme, he's in Houston, Texas, and saying best wishes to you, EJ, on your NFL upcoming season. Jaime Treviño, who's a big-time Carolina Panther fan, he's watching the show. Keep pounding. He sends his best to you too. Miguel Ángel Yagüe is watching the show. Antonio Ramos, he's also the real deal as a Panther fan. He's watching the show. He's the broadcaster for the Carolina Panthers Spanish radio network. So he's welcoming you, EJ, to the Panthers. He's watching the show. He was waiting all week to see you tonight. So he's very happy that you are on the air. Oscar Jimenez, he's in Costa Rica. Good evening. A mile high salute from Costa Rica because he's the Broncos leader down there in Costa Rica. Marta Valero, she's watching the show tonight. Everybody is tuning up tonight. So Alejandro from Costa Rica. Roberto Martinez is also watching the show. And let me tell you, I mean, we're being seen all over Latin America.
Yeah.
So they'll be rooting for you, EJ, and the Panthers this year. But I want to ask you also this, EJ. Now that you see the way the NFL works, how big a difference is this from the college scenario? Have you seen anything different from your days in college football, or is it just slightly the same?
You know, the biggest thing I've noticed is the recruiting is no longer as much as there's not as much time being involved in recruitment. In college football, that is the lifeline of the program. But here, you know, we have a whole department that handles personnel, and our head coach is hands-on with that stuff. But so the amount of time is all football, and you know, for a guy that loves football, there's really nothing better than that, right? So the opportunity to learn more football is the biggest difference that I've noticed. And to become a better coach and to become more of a competitor is the biggest, some of the biggest differences I've learned pretty quickly. And it's pretty evident because when you're in college, Randy will tell you, you are recruiting, and then you're doing football. So it's been pretty exciting to just really dive in and all ball. So really excited about that.
Le pregunto a ella qué tanta diferencia hay de fútbol americano colegial a la NFL. Dice algo muy básico. En el colegial te preocupas por el reclutamiento y el fútbol americano. Aquí te encargas exclusivamente del fútbol americano porque ya el equipo tiene un departamento dirigido a atender el tema de reclutamiento, de escauteo. Así que ahora acá es fútbol americano 24 horas. Go ahead, Randy.
Man, I mean, because I'm a DB, I'm going to backpedal a little bit, and I'm going to
Let's
stay.
do it. Let's do it.
I'm gonna stay right there because I was gonna kind of talk about that. I was going to say when I was coaching, we used to say that the heartbeat of every program was recruiting, and you know if you don't take care of your players, then you're just not going to have that much success. And because our listening audience, a lot of the coaches out there listening in, what are some of the attributes that you look for in a top recruit? If you don't mind sharing that.
Well, I don't think it's any different than a potential draft pick or a free agent or a tryout player in camp. I think NFL and college, I think it comes down to the same thing. One, how much do you love football? I think, are you a competitor? Like that to me is the most important, especially at this level. And then two, what type of character are you? Right? Depends on really what your program stands for. If that character fits that standard, right? Because you can be a great player, but you may not fit the principles of the program. And that's not going to work. And that's why you see sometimes guys go other places and have success because they may have not fit that certain culture, that standard. So I think the character that you're looking for is another priority before you dive into the talent ability. And then from there, I'd say the physical attributes, like as far as the height, for each position, the position profile on the speed for whatever that particular position is. So I would think it would be how much you love the game, your character, do you fit the mold of the program, and three, your physical ability as far as how fast you are, your size, and then how well you play the game. That's obviously without saying, but
right.
There's a lot of things that could come into the conversation before you really talk about the film.
Le pregunta Randy a EJ sobre esa parte del reclutamiento, si hay mucha diferencia entre colegial y profesional, y dice EJ, pero es prácticamente lo mismo. No importa si es un jugador próximo a seleccionarse en el draft o es un agente libre. Lo importante aquí es reconocer el carácter, la personalidad de ese jugador, qué tanto quiere al juego también, qué tanto lo ama, qué tan apasionado es. Y otro factor muy importante, antes de entrar en las características físicas, ¿verdad? La velocidad, la estatura, el peso, es si encaja en el programa, en la filosofía del programa, porque eso es también parte fundamental, razón por la cual, como comenta EJ, muchas veces vemos a un jugador triunfar con un equipo, pero en su equipo anterior simple y sencillamente las cosas no le salieron muy bien. Fernando Arturo Quiroz from Panama City, Panama, EJ says, thanks for having Christian McCaffrey in your hands this upcoming year. We're going to talk about him in the next half of the show.
For sure.
He says, Raul Mendez, who's the president of the Kiwanis Football League in Panama, he's invited the three of us to travel to Panama next off season. So EJ, be ready with your bags because you're going back to Panama City, Panama, and we'll make sure that trip's going to happen. Randy, awesome. You too. So they're in tune. We're going to take a short break, gentlemen. It's halftime. It's almost half the hour of this show. So we're going to take a halftime break and we're going to come back. Estamos a punto de hacer una pausa y volvemos porque esta noche tenemos al coach EJ Barthel de los Panthers de Carolina, quien es coach asistente ofensivo de la línea ofensiva y de los running backs, de los corredores de los Panthers, que este año quieren regresar a los playoffs. Vamos a mensajes y regresamos rápidamente. Randy y yo, esto es Monday Night Football Talk con el coach EJ Barthel. Ok, estamos de regreso. Randy Fuller ya se ha acomodado sus lentes. Randy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is the second half, so be ready, brother. This is going to be good. This is going to be good.
Come on, man.
We're just warming up. I know. We're just warming up.
In the sixth grade, of course.
Ok, estamos de vuelta en Monday Night Football Talk. Un fuerte abrazo a todos. Gracias por su sintonía esta noche. Fernando Quiroz, he wants to know if you think that the level of running back in the league, and we're going to talk about running backs, EJ, because it seems like it's a position that it's, just in the past few years through the NFL draft, I think we just had like 5 running backs selected in the first round. So what's going on with the running backs? But when you see a player like Christian McCaffrey, it's like, you can't let the running backs pass you on the draft. I mean, teams are letting this kind of players like Alvin Kamara reach all the way to the 4th round, and when they get to the NFL, it's like they are the star of the team. Hablemos de los running backs. Parece que los equipos los dejan pasar en el draft de la NFL, no se le da importancia a esta posición, pero cuando llegan a la liga, hombres como Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara se convierten en estrellas inmediatas. So what can you tell us about the running backs, EJ, and what's the reason why coaches don't want to invest in a player that's so essential, fundamental to the success of an offense in the league?
I don't really know. I do notice that what you're saying as far as not a lot of popularity in drafting running backs, or I know people do say that, but to me, I think that's kind of foolish, because Christian McCaffrey is a prime example of what you want on your program. Christian happens to be one of the best running backs in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL. And he's a fantastic competitor. I mean, he is a great person. He is a leader, and he loves football, and he is a competitor, and but running back position, in my opinion, if you can find a guy like Christian McCaffrey or any guy that's a workhorse, the game to me starts with the run. You know what I mean? And on both sides of football, you got to stop the run and you got to run the football. So to me, I happen to be a running back guy. So that's foolishness to me, because I love the position. I know we're changing the game, and the game has developed, but to find a guy that can take over the course of a game at any moment is like hitting the lotto. You know what I mean? So we are very fortunate to have Christian McCaffrey on our side. There's no question about that.
Bueno, ustedes escuchaban la respuesta de EJ y él se refiere a la importancia, que no entiende la razón por la cual no le dan esa importancia al corredor, siendo una pieza fundamental. Tener un jugador como Christian McCaffrey, que lo considera el mejor de la NFL, y muchos estamos de acuerdo con él, fue el líder en yardas de scrimmage la temporada pasada y en toques de balón. Over 400 touches of the ball last year. He was the NFL yards from scrimmage leader in the league. I mean, it's just impressive. Aquí el caso es que, bueno, el juego empieza con detener el juego por tierra y tener éxito corriendo el balón. No entiende la razón por la cual hay algunos equipos que no le dan esa prioridad, pero que tener un corredor que es un caballo de batalla como Christian McCaffrey, que es un arma, como lo ha demostrado en el campo también atrapando el balón, definitivamente que le da mucho éxito al equipo y es como sacarse la lotería cuando tienes un jugador así. Go ahead, Randy. That's a point I wanted to touch also because, I'm a run the ball man, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Just put the ball down the throat of the defense all afternoon.
Pound the rock, man. Pound the rock.
Well, what I would tell you is that I used to say, man, I'm a great athlete playing the game of football. And Christian McCaffrey is a great athlete that just so happened to play running back. He can play anything because he's such an incredible athlete. When I got to the NFL, I realized that I'm just a football player. There was so much talent that I took the athlete part off of my name. I'm like, I'm just a football player. And, having coached one of the great ones to ever play the game, in my opinion, which was Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, when you got such a great athlete like that, even when he doesn't do something right, you're like, Cromartie, what are you doing? And then you're like, oh, man, come on, next play. So what is your approach coming into a system where you're coaching such an incredible football player that is a big percentage of the offense? And, how do you approach that?
Well, fortunate enough to have Jeff Nixon on our staff, because Jeff he's had his coached quite a few good ones in the NFL. And my approach to the running back position, and speaking for myself, is that you don't coach a running back how to be a running back. If that makes any sense. You want to try to help that running back, want to help prepare his eyes.
Right.
You want to help him pre-snap, figure out what's going to happen on the play, and his ability that's on him, right? Like if someone says, I'm going to make you a great running back, you got to have it. You have to have that it factor as a back. And it's the coach's job to make sure that you're putting that back in position to see what he needs to see so he can make the best decisions on the field. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that is always going to be my approach to coaching backs. I think that's a key element for sure.
Randy le pregunta a EJ sobre esa parte del atleta, de jugador de fútbol americano, que cuando Randy llegó a la NFL se dio cuenta que era un jugador de fútbol americano y que había grandes atletas en la liga. Él le tocó coachar a Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie cuando era esquinero en la Universidad de Tennessee State, se convirtió en uno de los mejores también en la NFL. Lo que EJ dice es que, bueno, en este caso, la obligación del coach, junto al coach Jeff Nixon, que es el coach de corredores de los Panthers de Carolina, un hombre con una gran trayectoria coachando corredores, es brindarle las mejores oportunidades a Christian McCaffrey para tener éxito. Que aparte de ser una gran persona, McCaffrey es un gran atleta. Randy cita que McCaffrey podría jugar en cualquier posición, pero EJ lo ve como esa oportunidad que tiene él como coach de brindarle al jugador que destaque en el campo, que no es tan fácil como convertir al corredor en un gran corredor. Tienes que tener esa esencia de un gran jugador, de un gran atleta para convertirte entonces en ese gran corredor. EJ, the past 2 seasons, the Panthers haven't done that well. They haven't made the playoffs, a couple of losing years. I mean, they went all the way to the Super Bowl in 2015. And we well know that the Panthers fan base, they are excited for the new rule with Coach Matt Rule now as the head coach. So, I mean, what's the mindset inside of the team, inside the staff? You guys feel a lot of pressure now that you look at the NFC West with the quarterbacks they have? I mean, you're talking about MVPs in the same division, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. That ain't going to be easy beating those three. But what's your mindset? I mean, do you guys feel confident that you can turn things around right away? ¿Cómo se sienten en la llegada en su primera temporada después de que los Panthers los últimos par de años no han logrado entrar a los playoffs, considerando la fuerza que hay en la división sur de la conferencia de NFC South, de la división sur de la conferencia nacional?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in it starts with the players. You know, that's kind of how I see things. I learned that from quite a few guys, especially Coach Rule. You know, our championships are going to start in the locker room. That's the reality. I think when anytime not just when you're starting over a program. You know, if you're trying to win a championship, it's about your belief system. I believe that it's about your player buy-in and your staff buy-in, and that is essential when we're talking about building a culture. That's something that Coach Rule has been able to do at Temple and Baylor. It's been evident what he's been able to accomplish at those last few stops, and I don't know why that would be any different here. I can't speak for him, but the culture and that he's going to strive to create, it starts with our players. And as long as our players are willing to buy in, and we're going to have a shot. There's no question about it, because that belief system is what drives success. I truly believe that. It's a process. It's a day-by-day process that, it's not about just, going to win Super Bowl next year. It's about how do we become better every single day? How do you go 1-0 every day? That's the reality. And when you look back and after a good amount of time, you realize how much progress you've made, and you start to see other people start to buy in. And when everyone's clicking on all cylinders, that's when you know you got something special. And so, Charlotte and we should really be happy about our staff, because we're gonna make sure that we are creating that culture for our players, and it's gonna start with them. But we're excited about that for sure.
Le preguntaba a EJ acerca de ese compromiso como staff nuevo de cocheo, y él dice que los campeonatos se ganan o empiezan ganándose en el vestidor con los jugadores. Cuando el staff y los jugadores todos se comprometen con el mismo objetivo, la cultura que el coach Matt Rule quiere imponer dentro del programa, entonces es cuando las cosas empiezan a engranar y a funcionar de la manera correcta. Pero lo importante es eso, que los jugadores también adopten la filosofía de trabajo del coach Rule y del staff de cocheo, y de esa manera Carolina puede mejorar lo hecho en el pasado. Randy, you go ahead, and after your question, I'm going to ask a question from Antonio Ramos, who wants to hear from EJ something about the offensive line. But you go ahead first.
Oh, absolutely. Randy. Yeah, EJ, man, spoken like a true head coach, man. I almost went in the room and got my helmet and my shoulder pads. I came back out here, man. Hey, you motivated me on that last part, bro. I was ready.
Oh, man.
So it's coming. Don't forget about your defensive back coach one day. Okay?
I got you, man. Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that.
Listen, so the movie Any Given Sunday, right? That's the mindset. All the teams I played on, we really believe that we could win every game, any given Sunday. So we didn't really care who the opponents are. And you guys are going to face some great quarterbacks. But the chemistry is what prevailed us or made us excel to go to 2 Super Bowls. We just had chemistry. One of the teams was not the best talent, didn't have a whole lot of household names, but we went to the Super Bowl with that team. So what are some of the attributes that you've seen in your coaching career that can bond the team a lot closer, regardless how new the staff is, that can excel you guys to get to that next level?
The beauty of this game, in my opinion, is people of all different types of colors, all different types of belief systems, can come together for one common goal. That is the beauty of this sport, in my opinion. And the one thing that's key, that I noticed that is a success driver, is accountability. If you can develop accountability amongst your program, within your players, within your staff, within your training staff, within your strength and conditioning staff, if everyone can have a sense of accountability and take pride in doing their part, no matter how big your part is, right? Whether you're taping ankles, or you're filling up water jugs, or you're figuring out the game plan. It's a matter of taking pride in your work and having a sense of accountability that your job affects the next person's job. That is the key, in my opinion. That is a key element in building a strong culture in your program. That was one thing that has stood out to me in every place I've been, is the accountability evident amongst the whole program.
Randy le pregunta a ella sobre esa parte de la química de que tiene que existir en el equipo para lograr alcanzar el éxito. Randy jugó en un equipo que no tenía grandes estrellas, muchos nombres no eran conocidos, pero llegaron a un Super Bowl. Y lo que cita EJ es que lo más importante es la responsabilidad, accountability, ser responsable de tus actos, de los resultados, que cuando eso existe dentro del equipo, jugadores y coaches, de esa manera se puede alcanzar el éxito y eso ayuda mucho a la química del equipo para lograr ganar los partidos independientemente de quién sea el rival. We're heading to the final stretch. This is the fourth quarter, EJ, and we usually at this time, we let the fans also, blend into the conversation. And Antonio Ramos is in Mexico, and he wants to know, what do you think, or what was your first thought of three of the offensive players you guys had? Russell Okung, Schofield, and Miller. What do you think about those three veteran players?
No, the key is, and I can bang them all out in one because it comes down to experience and leadership. That's the three things that have been evident that I've noticed this offseason from those guys. And that is going to be key, right? So we're all new and we haven't had a chance to really get in face-to-face with each other. So, but those guys have shown the how to be a pro and the right approach to take to be successful. And that is going to be key for our young players to grasp onto and develop. So that would be the one thing I think that all three of those guys have really shown our staff and they've shown our players is leadership and experience.
Le preguntaba a EJ sobre estos tres jugadores de la línea ofensiva, Okung, Schofield y Miller, y dice que lo que más le ha llamado la atención es el liderazgo, la experiencia con la que cuentan ellos, que va a ser importante que los demás jugadores tomen también la batuta de esos veteranos, aprendan de ellos y puedan ser un mejor equipo, que definitivamente, a pesar de que no han tenido la oportunidad de verse cara a cara por lo que está ocurriendo también con la pandemia en los Estados Unidos, esas son características importantes de esos tres hombres que se integran a la línea ofensiva de los Panthers de Carolina. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, so EJ, this game is so unpredictable and dealing with the COVID situation. How much time? I mean, who do you think going to have the advantage? The teams that went to the playoffs last year, or I mean, I think the team with new coaches may be behind, but I'm not sure. What are your thoughts just on that in general?
That's a good question. It's really up in the air. I think that the one thing that we're all faced with that's positive that we're all faced with the same playing field. So, I think that it's going to be interesting. I think I'm sure the guys that were in playoffs, they may have, if they have some guys that remained on staff and didn't have any changes, I'm sure they may have a little bit of an advantage. But this situation has really been challenging. So I think the teams that got the most out of their offseason programs will have a chance to be successful. And the key is to kind of be creative to figure out how you can do that.
Right.
Because it's a new challenge, a new way of learning, a new way of teaching. And I think that the guys have capitalized on that, and the players that have really bought into learning a new way. That's another key element because change is difficult. You know what I mean? And so someone that's been learning a certain topic for 25 years or 20 years since they've been baby playing Pop Warner ball, now all of a sudden has to be in front of a laptop or an iPad and be told that you have to learn this way. That's tough. So I think the players that have bought into that new learning system, those teams will have some success. I truly believe that.
Randy le pregunta ahí acerca de si hay alguna desventaja para los equipos que tienen estos staff de coaches nuevos o aquellos que ya clasificaron a los playoffs el año pasado, tienen alguna ventaja. Dice que él no se siente que estén tan atrás, que aquí el tema es el aprovechar al máximo esta experiencia a través de las plataformas como lo estamos haciendo ahora. Que aquellos jugadores y coaches que se comprometan a trabajar de esta manera van a ser los que les van a sacar provecho en la temporada y no necesariamente alguien que ya haya anteriormente jugado playoffs o hayan sido campeones en la liga o tengan más años como staff de coacheo juntos. Así lo ve EJ y creo que sí es algo muy importante porque él considera que todos están en el mismo campo con las condiciones como se encuentran ahora mismo. I have to ask you, man, I mean, we've heard from players that they are worried about how the protocols will be handled once they have to go back to the field. We're expecting to see rookies tomorrow in the training camps with their teams. What has your organization told you about the protocols? Are you guys going a few days during the week to the installations, to the office? I mean, how are you handling this? And do you think the best thing to happen is having preseason games? ¿Cómo están manejando todo este tema y si crees que es correcto tener juegos de pretemporada?
To be quite honest, I don't know if I have the answer to that question, and that's going to lead on to my next point. Is I don't think anyone really knows how to exactly handle this situation. I can say that the NFL and the Panthers have done an excellent job of being hands-on day to day when facing new challenges and not just being acceptable to change and adapting to making sure that, one, the staff and the players are safe, taking those type of protocols as far as social distancing and protocols as far as when to show up, how to show up, what your required gear is, and providing that stuff and that information on a daily basis, and to your phone, to your email, to every aspect to make sure that you're equipped with all the information that is available for us right now. So I do really appreciate that from the NFL and from Panthers. So, we're living in a world of the unknown right now. That's the reality, So to say that we should or shouldn't have a preseason, I really couldn't answer that question. I think it's a day-to-day thing, and I'm speaking from a personal standpoint. I don't know what anyone's stance is, but I think it's a day-to-day operation, and you got to be ready for the challenges that are ahead. The one thing I do appreciate is the hands-on that our organization has showed.
Te pregunto ahí acerca de esa parte tan importante, el tema de los protocolos, si debe haber o no un partido de pretemporada. Y me dice, bueno, vivimos en un mundo desconocido, nadie tiene la respuesta concreta para lo que está sucediendo ahora, pero que él agradece la manera como la NFL y los Panthers de Carolina han manejado esta situación, informándoles a ellos frecuentemente a través de los celulares, correos electrónicos. O sea, tienen todo y la idea es que estén seguros y se sientan seguros, pero que hasta el momento no puede dar una respuesta concreta de qué es lo que va a pasar porque estamos todos en este mundo aprendiendo conforme el tiempo avanza y conforme la pandemia asimismo también lo dicta. That was a great answer, EJ. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, EJ, I got to backpedal again.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
As we go back. All right. So, I mean, you've been a running back, and I know at UMass that y'all used to get it on. It was a physical game, had to be. How has the physicality changed throughout the years? And when you see that it's not as physical as it used to be when you played because of all the rules, man, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's fun. That is funny because that's something that comes up with us old heads. We like to say, "Oh, we had it this, but we had it rough." But that comes up on a daily basis. But that is definitely one thing that I'm glad I'm not defensive coach right now. I'm sure they're the ones that have to adapt to change the most.
You're right.
But it is. It's a good thing. Honestly, the safety of the players is key. Right. That's the reality. There's a lot of new information that you and myself did not know about what we were putting our bodies in danger of. So it is for the better. You know what I mean? Right. And it's more challenging to be more of a skill-specific player in today's football, to not just rely on brute physical dominance, but also to rely on technique. I think that's key.
Right.
Learning the techniques and being a master at that technique is really changed the game. And that's from every aspect. That's from tackling. That's from blocking. That's from even from a coverage standpoint. You can't come across the middle like you used to back in.
Right.
Yeah, as a defender, that was a big part of the
game. And now a lot of games.
Absolutely. I mean, there's guys that are in the Hall of Fame because of how hard they can hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So guys, I'm sure I would not want to get hit by it. We talked about the Raiders, Jack Tatum. You know what I mean? That guy.
Ooh, yes.
The assassin.
So there's some. Obviously, you love the physicality of the game, but I think it's challenged today's players to be more skill specific and technique masters than
right.
than when we played it, for sure. And even as a coach, it's really more challenging to find new schemes, new ways to handle game breakers, right? To handle guys that are elite. So
Right.
It's changed the game for sure. Absolutely.
Le pregunta Randy a EJ de que, bueno, qué tantas cosas han cambiado de los días cuando ellos jugaban, ahora lo que vemos dentro del fútbol americano con los cambios de reglas. Dice EJ, bueno, gracias a Dios no soy coach defensivo. He's not a defensive coach. He's on the offensive side of the ball. So he doesn't have to worry about all those rules. No tiene que preocuparse por el cambio de reglas. Pero dice que definitivamente es algo que constantemente pasa por la mente de muchos, ¿no? El tema de las modificaciones que tiene el juego y que, bueno, afortunadamente se preocupan más también por la salud física de los jugadores, pero que definitivamente es por la protección de ellos y que, bueno, lo importante son los fundamentos, la técnica, adaptarte independientemente de la posición que juegues, porque es parte fundamental y que, bueno, se recuerdan aquellas grandes estrellas que llegaron al Salón de la Fama arrancándole la cabeza a los oponentes como Jack Tatum con los Raiders de Oakland en los años 70. EJ, what do you think is going to happen with the Panthers this year? What will the record be? And we haven't mentioned Teddy Bridgewater. He was 5-0 last year, starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. No hemos mencionado a Teddy Bridgewater, pero él tuvo marca de 5-0 el año pasado y es ahora el quarterback titular de los Panthers de Carolina. ¿Cuál crees que vaya a ser el récord? Una pregunta, a question that Miguel Ángel Yagüe from Mexico City wants you to answer.
Well, there's one thing I can tell you. You're going to find a bunch of guys that are going to lay it all on the line on that field. You're going to find guys that are really going to strive for excellence. That they're really going to put this is going to be a competitive football team. That's talking about wins and losses. Who knows? But the one thing I can say, the guys are on that field are going to be competitors. There's no question about it. That's the essence of our program. That's the back. It's not about just calling yourself a hard worker. It's but really believing in taking the action to be the hardest worker. That is the key to success for us. That's the one thing I can guarantee our players when they get on that field, they will be the most competitive guys that they can be. There's no question about that.
And that's a slogan, keep pounding. So I'm sure you guys going to try to do that. Le pregunto ahí acerca de que, bueno, qué va a pasar con los Panthers esta temporada. Dice, bueno, no va a entrar en ganados y perdidos, pero que algo que pueden estar seguros es van a ver a los jugadores entregarlo todo cada semana en el campo, porque el compromiso va a existir y por ahí se va a empezar a trabajar y a cambiar también este equipo para que tenga una temporada ganadora. Así que pueden estar seguros que no nada más va a ser de creer las cosas, sino también de ejecutarlas. Execute on the field. That's what the Panthers are all about for next year. Randy, I'm amazed. It's always the same thing.
I know.
We've been talking with EJ. I've been enjoying this conversation, and we've had 57 minutes on the air. Come on, man.
Goodness. All right. Let me squeeze my last one in.
With style.
EJ, man, it's been great. Enjoyed it so far. I'm definitely pulling for your chin for you guys to do extremely well. Man, the reason I know what kind of coach you're going to be and what kind of player you are, because I know you're from the New Jersey area. And one of my mentee coaches up there, and they just won back-to-back state championship. Woodrow Wilson High School. My buddy Brandon Bather, he's been down to Panama with us, helping us out in Monterey, doing camps with us. And how do they win back-to-back, being a school of that size with no resources, no field, with no lights? How do you have that success in New Jersey?
And you talking about Woodrow Wilson down in South Jersey, Camden?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I tell you what, and they have really turned that program around, man. How about that? It's great for that community, and there's a sense of toughness that comes with being from New Jersey.
Right.
I don't know if you could put it in words on what that actually means, being a Jersey guy. It's like if you know type of thing. So, but there's definitely a sense of pride of showing that you are a tough individual when being from New Jersey. That's something that I noticed. That's everyone from New Jersey always says and lives. So, but yeah, I think very similar to what we are all about at Carolina is the culture.
Right.
You know, having that chip on your shoulder and doing everything it takes to win. I mean, shoot. Now is Preston Brown is the head coach there? Is that correct?
No, my buddy Brandon Ballard, he's the defensive coordinator. He's
Oh,
my
okay.
frat brother. And,
okay, fantastic. I mean, they have done a great job with that pro. I remember when I was at Rutgers and they came to camps and stuff.
Yes.
They have really done a fantastic job with those kids.
Yes.
And they've really gotten those kids to buy in for sure.
They
really got those kids together. And they've done an excellent job. I went to their state championship game when I was back recruiting.
I kind of figured that.
So, yeah, and it was really. You know,
that's why I had to get it
impressive.
In before you left. I had to get that in.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. So so Jersey tough, man. That's
absolutely.
I'm sure Preston and those guys over there in Camden, they live by it, and they've been doing a great job.
Randy le pregunta a EJ sobre el fútbol americano en Nueva Jersey, donde EJ jugó con la Universidad de Rutgers y que, bueno, sus programas de preparatoria con Woodrow Wilson High School allá fueron campeones en años consecutivos y EJ recuerda que, bueno, hay mucho compromiso, una filosofía, una cultura muy parecida a la que tienen ellos ahora en Carolina también con los jugadores y los coaches creyendo en el trabajo que es necesario para lograr el campeonato. EJ, I mean, I've enjoyed this, man, and I mean, words can't express how much we appreciate you taking the time, knowing that you're very busy. I mean, football season is just around the corner, but you took the time to talk to us tonight. We look forward to seeing you on the field as a coach in the NFL. We are very, very, very happy for you, for your family, your career, and we look forward to having you back again on the show and traveling with us all over Latin America, all over the world to promote the game. So one last thought you want to express to all the fans in Latin America, coming from you all the way from Charlotte in North Carolina.
You know, I think this is an awesome experience to get to share some of my thoughts and experiences with you guys. As you know, I am a huge believer in expanding this game. I think this game is a game of life. There's a lot of things that we can take from it, especially in the day we're in right now. It's a game for people to come together and challenge themselves and grow and build bonds and relationships that will last a lifetime. And I am all for about the development of football all over the world. Even when I was in college recently and started recruiting international players, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for anyone to get involved with football. And when it comes to bringing awareness of people that want to learn about the game, I will be more than happy to jump on the show and join you. And you guys are fantastic in what you're doing. And I really appreciate you letting me be on the show and share some of my thoughts with you.
Dice EJ que definitivamente para él el amor por el fútbol americano lo ha llevado a hacer lo que ha logrado en su carrera como coach y que me interesa muchísimo tener la oportunidad de viajar, sumarse a Randy y a mí con esto porque como director de reclutamiento en un tiempo cuando se encargaba de buscar jugadores a nivel internacional, tiene muy claro que el amor por el juego, la pasión por el juego es muy importante y brindar la oportunidad también a jóvenes jugadores de jugar fútbol americano en otras latitudes. Así que para él eso es muy importante y aprecia mucho el que haya estado con nosotros esta noche y agradece la oportunidad obviamente de contar su historia. Randy, we hit
yes.
the final stretch and we got to the finish line. I mean, we've enjoyed this show with EJ Barthel and we wish you all the best. So brother, go ahead, final words.
EJ, thank you so much for being part of this show, man. And I know being a coach is not like a player having anxiety the night before you got to report, but it's still the anticipation that, man, you want everything to go well and be perfect. So again, our hat is off to you. We salute you. We wish you the best. And thank you so much from the bottom of our heart.
I appreciate you guys. And thank you guys for doing what you do. I think it's fantastic. I really appreciate that.
En nombre de Randy Fuller, soy Ricardo García Ochoa. Hemos tenido el placer de conversar con el coach EJ Barthel esta noche de los Panthers de Carolina. EJ, we wish you all the best and we look forward to your 2020 NFL season. Thank you once again. Gracias a todos. Pásela bien. Buenas noches.
Take care, man.